Hello and welcome to Excel Highway. In today's video, I want to share with you a food cost calculator that I created in Google Sheets. Using this calculator, you can calculate the cost for each recipe, what percentage of the food cost each recipe should be, and eventually calculate the cost per serving in your restaurant. If this sounds interesting to you, stick around as I walk you through how I built this step by step so you could do it on your own. So first off, you need to create a Google Sheets. I hope you're familiar with that, but if not, just click over here on the 9 squares, click on Sheets, click on Blank Spreadsheet, and you have a new spreadsheet. You can just change the name over here to Food Cost, whatever you want, and you get started. That's how you simply create a spreadsheet in Google. All you need is a Gmail account, of course, which I hope you have. So, once you created the food cost calculator file, you can see I have a lot of sheets here. Let me walk you through all of the sheets one by one. Menu sheet represents your real menu. It's going to automatically populate all your recipes, the number of serving per that recipe, what that recipe costs. You need to fill in the food cost, let's say 35%. That's going to tell you what is the serving cost, and just you can have a rounded cost. You can change that to a nice rounded number, whatever you want. You don't have to use that. So that's the menu sheet. The inventory sheet is where you write your ingredients, what unit of measure you purchased them, the quantity you purchased, and the cost per in total. And you get a calculation of cost per unit of measure. So for example, you purchased all-purpose flour, pounds. Let's say you purchased 5 pounds at $7.50 for the full amount. So the price per pound is $1.5. This is something you need to fill in manually every time you have new ingredients. Recipe database will, as you can expect, hold all of your recipes. First of all, the quantities, so you can cook, but also the cost for each recipe, and I'll walk you through how to do it very detailed. Recipe sheet, this is where you build each recipe before you want to pull it to the recipe database. Unit of measures, something already pre-built. This will convert liquid and solid unit of measures. So if you have something in teaspoon and you purchase it in pints, so you can convert it, well, the system will convert it to the numbers. ChatGPT recipes is just something I pulled. I just took an example of 10 or something recipes from Italian restaurants with, you see, the ingredients, the measures, and everything, just so to build this sample file. So you can use what I did if you want. So let's start with a simple one, unit of measure. I'm utilizing Google's function called convert. Convert, as you can expect, will convert a value from the starting unit to the end unit, and I'm just using the dollar signs. Here the dollar is on column B, and here the dollar is on row 2. So I'm going to convert the name. So here I have the name itself, and here I have the unit of measure. So because Google has their own name for each unit of measure, and you can see that it works. 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters, so that works. Obviously, NAs for liquid and solid, and I've added one that's called each. Okay, so whenever you have something in each, like eggs, for example, so you could use that. So that's very easy to do. Use the convert function and build your table. Have a column for the from and a row for the to, and that way you can zero in on exactly what conversion you want to check now. Let's look to the next step, which is the recipe sheet. So the recipe sheet, how it's built, you have a recipe name, the number of servings, the cost will be calculated. It's a sum of the ingredient cost. The number of lines, that's also automatic. Everything that you see in gray is automatic. That's just going to count how many lines of ingredients you have here. And the next line to copy is going to check where to paste the next batch. I have here a simple code that will, once you click on this checkbox, it will copy the recipe over here to the recipe database on the last row. So I'm just using these for that purpose. I'll show you also how to do that. So once you put the recipe name, number of servings, you need to start putting in the ingredients, the unit of measure, and quantity. Okay, I want to show you how I built these recipes in ChatGPT just so you can see. This is the prompt that I used. Famous Italian restaurant meal recipe. Let me just copy that over to ChatGPT. So famous Italian restaurant meal recipe, only ingredients, table format, columns, recipe name, ingredient, unit of measure, could be different, quantity purchased, number, and instead of famous Italian restaurant meal recipe, let's say vegetable lasagna. Okay, and then you get basically the recipe name, the ingredients, the unit of measure, quantity, purchase unit, everything that I need. And it's exactly what you see over here. Then you can just take that lasagna. Oh, I forgot. Number of servings. So that'll be for 8 to 10 people. Okay. So we can just take that as is over here and we can just paste that. Okay. I'm just going to do it like this. And then over here in the recipe sheet, what I did is here on the right, you see it's going to just pull the data that I have over here, just using filter. So basically I'm filtering the ChatGPT recipes whenever column A is equal to mine. So let's put 9 as the number of servings over here. And then we're going to copy, I have lasagna box, and immediately you see that the unit of measure is from a drop-down list. So I'm just using the data validation for that range and going to the unit of measure A3 over there. So that's how I standardize the name. I'm going to replace box with each, jar with each, cup just same way I have it in my file, teaspoon. Okay, so that's number one. I fixed the unit of measure. Then you need to check if there's any issue with the quantity. Sometimes it will produce a text, not a number, like this. So you see that you have an issue. Okay, purchase quantity already identifies these ingredients that exist in my inventory. So it already tells me what is the purchase unit of measure, what's the cost per unit of measure, and the conversion. So it's telling me match unit of measure to purchase. This is the recipe issue. This tells me that I have a recipe for each lasagna noodles, but I purchased in pounds, so I cannot convert. So I can use this prompt, converter prompt for ChatGPT. What it checks is basically if this is -1, the conversion failed, it's going to create a text which is a combination of the ingredient, the unit of measure, the A6, what's that? Sorry, okay, I'm converting the quantity, 1 each lasagna noodles in pounds. Let's just see how it looks. Just convert it into pounds. They cannot convert it. Okay, so we'll just make it up. Let's say instead of, usually it's okay, but let's say it's 3 pounds. I don't know. Let's say you need 2 pounds for the recipe. Okay, Marinara sauce as well. Let's see if this one will work for us. This is not going well. I hope this one will work. 2 cups ricotta cheese in pounds. Okay, this one went okay. So it tells us 2 cups of ricotta is 1.15 pounds. So I'm going to replace that with 1.15, replace that with pounds, and I am okay. I'll just replace the marinara sauce with, I don't know, 6 tablespoons. That's okay. I just need to make sure that I don't have a comment here on the recipe line. Match unit of measure. Let's take the mozzarella cheese. See what I get for that. So that's 1.1 pounds. Convert it to pounds, 1.1 pounds. Add ingredient to inventory. This tells me that I don't have the spinach as an inventory in my line. So that's where I want to see what ChatGPT told me about purchasing the spinach. Although this is not going to work because they have the purchase in bunch. So I'm just going to have spinach cups. Okay, let's put spinach as cups. Maybe it makes sense. Let's say I purchased 10 cups for $20. Let's say for $35. Okay, back to the recipe sheet. I'm okay. This line went away. Match unit of measure. So 1 teaspoon of salt in kilograms. That's going to be, I can use grams, so 2.16 grams. So I go over here, 2.16 grams, and I'm okay. Pepper, add ingredient. So I just want to convert it to black pepper because I'm sure I have it. And teaspoon. How about grams? Do you have grams? Just change it to grams instead of teaspoon, and we should be okay. And you see it's very simple how I created my recipe. And now the last part, it will be to click on the button, but let me show you how I built all these things. So we saw the drop down list. This is looking at the inventory sheet. What it's checking is if there's a value here, because I'm going to, sorry, here. I'm going to drag this all the way down. So just a simple VLOOKUP for the ingredient column, that is A6, and go to inventory, A through 6, and to the second one. I'm also going to pull, I think, the cost per unit of measure. That is going to be just the same formula, just with the 5 at the column number. And the if this does not, if not greater than 0, I'm just going to return a blank, just so it's nice. You don't have the NAs and all of that. Conversion. This is where I'm using index match. So I'm going to use index match on the unit of measures sheet. So if you're not familiar with index match, index is where you highlight basically the range that you're going to work on, both rows and columns. So I have A1 through Q17, so like so, right? You got to have the first column of where you're searching the rows, and the first row is where you're searching the column. So I'm going to be searching basically here and here. That's why I have to have the drop down list for that. So looking for a combination between pound and pound, which will be 1, of course. But you can see the others, although it's hard to see, but there is a number. So it will return a number if it exists, otherwise you'll get the NAs that we saw before. If you're trying to convert each with quart, you're going to get the -1, meaning there's no value, plus that comment. So that's the conversion. And finally, the ingredient cost, it's going to be the quantity times the cost per unit of measure times the conversion. Okay? Because if I had here grams or ounces, so I'd need to convert it. The recipe issue formula is a combination of ifs. So if I have a -1 here, I know I need to populate the text add ingredient to inventory. If F6 is -1, I want to populate match unit of measure to purchase. Those are the two options that I have over here. And we looked at the converter and we looked at the filter. So this is how it's built. Once I click on this button, copy recipe to database, it's going to copy the table or parts of it over here. Let's show you how it's done. You click on the checkbox, it copies everything and erases everything that we had before. Go to recipe database, and now vegetarian lasagna exists, number of servings, ingredient, unit measure, quantity, and this is live. So these columns always check what's in the inventory. So if you make changes, the recipes will change accordingly. They're not frozen. If now the price for salt went up to 16 in the inventory sheet, then this will also be increased here and your actual food cost will change. So it's dynamic. The last part here, the food cost is blank because it's pulling the data from here from the menu, which you now see that we have a new item on the list and we need to add a food cost to it. Otherwise there's no serving cost. So how did this button work? It's very simple. You go to extensions, app scripts, and when you do this you'll have untitled or something here. So what I used is a function called function on edit E, and what this does is this works whenever something changes in the sheet. So you can use this for a lot of things. Const sh e range get sheet, so that's going to be the name of the sheet. So if sh get name equal recipe sheet, meaning if I'm in the recipe sheet and the range column is 6 and the row is 2 and the value is true, so that's basically the second row, the 6th column, and the value is true. So if all three conditions apply, then this function works. Because I don't want this to work over here, over here, over here, or if I have another checkbox. I just want it to work if I have clicked this checkbox in the specific sheet. So that's what that if does. Then I'm declaring all the variables. So SS spreadsheet get active spreadsheet, that's going to return the spreadsheet. Then the actual name of the sheet using sheet 1 and 2, recipe sheet, that's the source, databases is the destination sheet. Then I'm going to use parameters, and you can actually build this even better than me, but I just used something very simple that I already had. So the from row is 6, the from column is 1, and the number of columns is 3. So it's from here through column 6. Number column is 3 from row 6. So I'm starting here, 3 columns, and the number of rows is going to be dynamic. So the number of rows is where I use this number of lines. So that's the value over here, and the destination row is the value over here. And that's what you see over there. And then I'm going to use this function to copy and paste. So the source is sheet 1, this range, which is the range that we have, to the destination, which is the destination range, column 3, well, not column 3, exactly, from column 3, number of rows, number of columns, and this last code will actually do the copy paste, and contents only means that it will not paste it as a formula. Then I'm going to add the recipe and number of servings. So now the range is this area 2112, which is basically these two. Just going to paste it over here to the destination, just multiplying the lines based on how many lines I have. And the last part is to copy the formulas. Nope, this actually I didn't do that. I don't need that anymore, sorry. I just used over here, I just added blank rows and just added the formula. So if you're out of room, just add rows and drag the formulas so it continues to work. And then I just want to clear the recipe. So range F2, A2 through B2, and A6 to the last row. That's just going to clear these 3. So they're all ready for the next recipe. That's a little bit of app script, but it really helps because it's easier to click on the button rather than copy paste, delete, and everything. So I hope that's going to be useful for you. That's the only app script here, so once we're past that, we're good to continue. Recipe database, as you saw, it's going to store all the recipes one by one. And the formulas is what we saw before. There's nothing different here. Only difference is this one, the food cost. So the food cost looks at the menu, VLOOKUP over here, so you control it from over here. And if I add 42%, then I have a serving cost and a rounded cost. And also here in the database, it gives me the ingredient cost because I'm summing up the ingredients. And that depends on the food cost. So the ingredient price is going to be the cost divided by the food cost. That's going to give me the math. So if this ingredient costs $42 and I want 35% to be for the cost, that's exactly $15. So that's the recipe database. Inventory, very simple. You put the ingredient, you have the drop down of the unit of measures, quantity and cost, and then just the cost per unit is the cost divided by quantity. That's dragged all the way down. By the way, formatting wise, you see that I'm using a lot of times the alternating colors. It's very simple to do. You just highlight the table, format, alternating colors, and you can just select whatever fits for you. You can even custom fit it if you want to something specific. But I just use the defaults. I think they're good enough. So that's the ingredients in the inventory. Last, we have the menu. The menu will automatically, using the unique function, return all of the recipes. I'm using unique on the recipe database on column A, starting from A2. And I want to use unique because I don't want to see 6 lines for margarita pizza, just 1 line. Number of servings, just going to use a VLOOKUP on the database since I know it's the same value. Theoretically, I could use unique for even for 2 columns. Let's see if that's going to work. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, same result. So actually, we don't need the function of that. So we're going to use unique for 2 columns. Since we know that the recipe name is unique and the number of servings is the same for each recipe, that's going to give us the same result. Recipe cost. This is where we do use some ifs. So some ifs on the recipe sorry, on the recipe database over here, column I. That's going to show me the ingredient cost. Food cost is a number. If I change that, as you see, it's going to basically change the ingredient price. Then I'm going to summarize the serving cost. So the serving cost is the sum of column K, okay, which is the ingredient price, divided by the number of servings. So this is going to give me a price per serving. Okay? And then, if you want, you can have a rounded cost, just so you can put a price that's not 0.5. You could, of course, remove here a number using round, so it could be 0, not 2 digits, so it will not show you those numbers with the decimals, but I think 1 decimal is okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So you have the food cost calculator that takes you from a recipe into the recipe database using the information that you have in the inventory, and finally calculating the food cost. And I just want to show you exactly if you change the ingredients why it's so nice, because it's going to be updated. So margarita pizza now costs $10.90 per serving. If I go to the inventory and let's see, pizza dough, for example. Let's take a look at pizza dough. Okay. Let's say now it cost me $200. Prices went up, so also the margarita price went up. Immediately, you don't have to change anything. You don't have to change the recipe. Of course, you can always change the recipe. So let's say the margarita pizza, you're using 4.5 kgs of dough. You see that the ingredient cost dropped to 18 and the cost changed again. So you can play with this. Once you build the recipes, once you have all the ingredients, this can flow very, very quick for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe and hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.